The 2024-25 season has officially come to an end for the Denver Nuggets. The roller coaster and whirlwind of a ride that this season has been ends at the hands of the Oklahoma City Thunder in a 7-game series, with the final score not being one that many of us wanted to see. OKC 125, Denver 93. And although I am hurting like many Nuggets fans are right now, we should take a moment and be proud of what this team was able to accomplish despite the circumstances that stood before them, despite all of the obstacles that got in their way, health and all the external noise included. Be proud that they were able to push an incredible Oklahoma City Thunder team to 7 games and gave them true fear leading up to this game, even if that last result was a blowout. We're going to recap a little bit of that game. Although it will hurt, we'll do a rapid-fire breakdown, and then we'll look ahead to what is unquestionably the most important offseason in Denver Nuggets history. We'll get into all that here on the Mile High Nugget Mine. How's it going, guys? My name is Alex. I go by 5280 Nugget Mine on Twitter and Mile High Nugget Mine here on YouTube. Fresh off of having some food, chatting with family, and debating what show I want to start to numb the pain after a brutal ass whooping that the Denver Nuggets faced in Game 7. Again, that final score, you see it on the screen. Denver musters up 93 points, and the OKC Thunder clobber you with 125 of their own. This is going to be a very painful rapid-fire breakdown of the game, but we have to be true to who we are and go through all of it. To be fair, there's not very many notes that I can give you from that fourth because midway through that third, the game was just over. In that first quarter, I thought it played out a lot like Game 6 did. I think Denver came out with the right energy, and despite Aaron Gordon, and bless you, Aaron Gordon, for not only coming out and playing with a grade 2 hamstring sprain, but playing better than some of the other Nuggets players that had almost no excuse to play as poorly as they did. We'll get into that here in a second. But I thought that first quarter played a lot like Game 6, where Denver came out to they came out great. They got up to a pretty decent lead, and you force OKC to take a timeout. Almost rage timeout. It's just they looked aloof. They looked like the lights were going to be a little too bright. And then with about, again, more or less 2 minutes left in that first quarter, you go to your bench, and it just derailed all momentum. Russell Westbrook didn't look good, and Jokic was struggling to score. Credit OKC's defense. I know a lot of us are upset because it did seem that Jokic was getting hacked at quite a bit with very little whistles, deterring that aggressive defense. I know what OKC fans are going to say. Hey, you guys got 16 free throws, before we got 3. What are you complaining about? It truly isn't just, sometimes a foul isn't just a whistle to go to the line. It's a whistle when a defender is literally draped all over you, grabbing your arms, not allowing you to move. Those are the things that were frustrating, where it felt like, smaller Alex Caruso was able to just grab onto Nikola Jokic, prevent him from moving much more than any other big would have been able to do. And that's what's frustrating. I get it. You can't call a whistle or you can't call a foul every single time. It's going to slow the game down. It's the playoffs. There just should be a level of, fear might not be the right word, but there should be a level of respect that the other team has for a potential whistle that could be coming. And they just never felt that. They just never felt that on OKC's side, that they were going to get in trouble for playing the way that they were playing. They continue to play that way, and to their credit, I thought they did a good job at neutralizing Nikola Jokic as much as you can. Going into that second quarter, I thought it was a very interesting decision from David Adelman, to not have either Jokic nor Murray out there to start the second quarter. You went with a very experimental lineup at that point. I believe the lineup that came into the game was Russell Westbrook, Aaron Gordon, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther, and maybe Michael Porter Jr. That sounds correct, but I'll double check. A Michael Malone philosophy was, during the playoffs, I need at least one of those two out there at all times. That's what's going to yield me the best results. Now, sometimes it was to their detriment, where some people just were more worn down as the game went on, and you could see it sometimes in the energy levels later into games. I want to make sure I get that exact lineup for you guys, because I don't want to sit here talking about it and then not have an opportunity to really dive into it. So yeah, Julian Strawther, Aaron Gordon, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, and I believe Russell Westbrook are all in there. I just don't understand the logic behind that lineup in a Game 7. If we're trying to get them rest, Jokic and Murray, let's stagger it the way we've been doing it. You had a good amount of momentum going into the second quarter. You weren't up by the 10, 12 points you were earlier. I think they got their lead up to 11. But you still had a lead. It was like 3-5. I think it was 5 points going into the second quarter. And within moments, it gets evaporated. You get a turnover on your end. You get a missed three on your end, and they're getting layups and run-out dunks. I'm not going to point to the start of the second quarter as the reason why this team lost, but I will point at just some very poor decision-making in the last couple minutes of the first quarter, again, by several players. I mean, you have to look at Westbrook. Westbrook just a handful of early turnovers, almost like immediately after checking in, gets a turnover, missing shots, just not giving your team the best looks in that second quarter. And it kind of just snowballed from there, where it felt like any momentum you had completely disappeared. OKC pounced on you at home, buildings rocking. And before you knew it, instead of being down the 4 or 5 points that you thought you may go into the halftime break with, all of a sudden you're staring down the barrel of a 14-point deficit, and it happened in the matter of, I would say, maybe 2 minutes. Let's see, it was with about a minute 45 left, 41-49. You think, okay, Denver scores a couple of times, and maybe they'll go into the halftime break down 6 points. Not the best, but definitely not the worst. You've been down far, far worse. And then in a matter of moments, SGA hits a pull-up three. You turn the ball over. J-Dub gets an open dunk. Then Christian Brown turns the ball over. Another open dunk for J-Dub. You go up to the line. You miss your free throws. All of a sudden, it is 45-56. SGA gets fouled, hits a couple free throws to end the first half. J-Dub gets an easy pull-up jumper. Just, you knew he was going to have a bounce-back game after how poorly he played in Game 6. You just wish you could have done a better job containing him in that first half. Finishes with 17 first-half points. Again, the Denver Nuggets would go into the halftime break down 14. And at that point, I put it out there that I was not feeling very confident about the Denver Nuggets unless they did something just entirely crazy to start the third. Like, you had to have a near perfect start to the second half. No way around it. You're on the road. And instead of a near perfect first half, you get arguably the worst start that you could have ever drawn up if you are the Denver Nuggets. Lou Dort gets an open three. He misses it. You get the rebound, and almost immediately after that, Jamal Murray turns the ball over. It is an easy run out for SGA. Very next play down the floor. I would say there's controversy in this play because Aaron Gordon's going to get called for a flagrant foul, elbow to the head of SGA. The Nuggets do call a timeout to challenge it. It gets upheld. They get 2 free throws plus possession. They hit both free throws, and they get another basket after that. It leads ballooning out of control. It's now 20 points instead of the 14. The 6-0 run to start the third quarter, and this happened in less than 2 minutes. The reason I'm going to say there's a little bit of controversy is in Game 6, Jamal Murray received, in my opinion, a far worse elbow to the face than what SGA did. They took a look at it and they deemed that that was a common basketball play on. I'm not saying those 2 points would have been the difference in this, but look, when you're already spiraling out of control, just giving them freebies and possession isn't going to help your case, and it definitely didn't tonight. And from that point on, you started missing your jumpers. They started confidently hitting theirs, grabbing offensive rebounds. From that point on, I would probably say at around the 7-minute mark, I was confident that there was no coming back in this game. And unfortunately, I was correct. The Denver Nuggets would continue to try to trim into this lead every time that they would make a couple of shots. The Thunder would respond almost immediately. You'd go to your bench for a little bit, see if you get a spark. No spark tonight. No Julian Strother, coming out party. And by the time that you hit the third quarter, you were down 25 points. We waved the white flag. GG's, good game, OKC. The Nuggets just did not have it tonight. There's not really much to break down in the fourth. You emptied out your bench unit almost immediately, if not immediately. Yeah, you gave it one more go to start, and then you emptied out your bench unit. There was no way. There was no way to come back in this one. Credit to OKC, an incredible series. And like I said at the open of this video, we can be upset in the moment because of the nature of how you lost. But I don't think when you look at this season as a whole, you grab the entire scope of this season, I don't think you can be that upset. At least you can't be upset with the results that they were able to get, given how poorly this roster was constructed from the very beginning. David Adelman did not, in the last 3 games, get a championship roster. He had a roster that had so many flaws. And despite all of that, was a game away from getting to the Western Conference Finals. Credit to David Adelman. Credit to the guys on the team for believing that they could get to this point. And credit for them for most of their play throughout the regular season. There was so much going on behind the scenes that none of us have the window or the ability to look into to fully understand just how bad things were. And again, despite all of that, Denver had an opportunity to get to the Western Conference Finals. And once they got there, look, I'm not going to sit here and say I love their chances against the Timberwolves, but hell, you played an incredible series against a team that defends just as good, if not even a little better than the Timberwolves and the Thunder, and you almost won it. Health would have been a major concern moving forward, given what we know about AG, given Michael Porter's situation, and I mean Nikola wasn't doing great either. Regardless, what I'm trying to say is this season was fantastic. It didn't yield the result that you wanted, but let's be honest, I don't think this roster was ever going to give you that result, Michael Malone here or not. So I want to applaud these Denver Nuggets. As much as it hurts, I think we should take a look and just appreciate what they were able to do. I said in the last video that if this truly is the last dance for this core, and I'm slowly starting to believe that is reality, and that might be the last time we see that collection of players play together, then I was just hoping it'd be a good one. And maybe the game wasn't good itself, but the series was fantastic. And we thank the core for what they've done. I obviously am not an insider. I don't have any knowledge or information for what's to come next. That's just me speculating. Okay, now that I've kind of given Denver their flowers because I believe that they deserve it, despite getting absolutely spanked today, I put in the rundown, there's always a bright side. That's the kind of person that I am. I can be very negative and I can be very pessimistic. Look, Zendaya said it best herself. If you expect failure, if you expect disappointment, then you'll never be disappointed. I know it's a very bad way to look at things, but when you've gone through Nug Life your entire life, that's kind of how you get shaped at some point. But I do always try to look on the bright side, and people aren't going to like this because your team just got bounced from the playoffs when let's be real here. There was a legitimate chance if they got to a Western Conference Finals and they got out of that, there was a great opportunity for them to win another NBA championship. I fully believe that if they somehow got past this game and that everything broke right for them in the Wolves series, they could have won an NBA championship. And that's just how things shook out. Unfortunately, we're sitting on the other side of things. Now on Twitter, I did go on and say, kind of tongue in cheek. I won't lie here, but I just, in that third quarter, I tweeted, all right, let's just pretend that Denver can't come back in this. Shouldn't we see it as a small blessing in disguise? Players can now focus on their health rather than playing a brutal series against the Wolves, one that may have been to no avail. You avoid possibly making a mistake here, and we'll dive into this a little deeper. But you might avoid making the mistake of just immediately hiring your interim GM and your current interim head coach, thinking that, hey, look how much we won. Winning is the greatest medicine to so many things. It creates a veil that makes it very hard for you to see what's truly underneath. I'm not saying that they won't go with David Edelman as the coach moving forward. I'm just saying this now gives them more of an opportunity to truly reflect and look at this and say, okay, clearly it wasn't enough. Do we look at the coach? Do we look around and maybe try to improve in that area as well? And then at the end of the day, this now also forces their hand in terms of needing to make roster moves. It's a blessing in disguise in the sense that no one has to get more hurt. You can now start to retool. You can now start to really think about next year. My honest feelings, even before they've made any moves, is that the Denver Nuggets are an NBA championship contender moving into 2025, 2026. I haven't seen or heard anything that they're thinking about doing, but given what they were able to accomplish with this beaten, battered, and just incomplete roster, with a little better direction, with a little more focus on creating a bench and creating a good role player system for Nikola Jokic, I think the Denver Nuggets can really have a legitimate shot at winning their second NBA championship. It's just a matter of how the chips fall. And I'm saying it right now. I'm very confident that the chips will fall in a favorable way, because at this point they have to. Maybe this is just me speaking from nothing but hope, but they have to at this point. That's me looking on the bright side. Your players aren't going to get hurt anymore. AG, you go rest on that hamstring. Don't do anything to re-aggravate it. MPJ, let's be honest, he's probably the one player that most of us feel is going to either get moved or heavily shopped. If that's the case, get that shoulder right so we can get a couple more suitors that are interested in you. I think most people should be interested in a 6'10" floor spacer like Michael Porter Jr. It just bums me out. I love this core. These are our guys. Like, we won a championship with them. We've seen hardships and we've seen the best together. And it hurts to know that likely is the last time I'll see that collection of players go out on the floor. And as someone who truly loves this team, as someone who truly appreciates what they built, it stinks. But I also understand that at some point we should be more concerned about ensuring the Denver Nuggets' success, and by proxy ensuring Nikola Jokic's success, because we owe it to Nikola Jokic to see him win a couple more championships so he can be in the conversation for one of the greatest players of all time, because that is what we have here in Denver, and I don't want to have that, besmirched by only having one ring on his resume. It should be multiple, and we need to do everything that we can so that's the case. Sorry about that tangent. Like I said earlier, I'm proud, and we should all feel proud. I'm just feeling very emotional, just letting it hit a little more. that's probably the last time I'll see Michael Porter Jr. in a Denver Nuggets uniform. And I know that makes a lot of people happy. I just really like the MPJ story. Someone that shouldn't actually be out on the floor because of the injuries that he sustained. Those are career ending through all of the hardships that he's dealt with his siblings. All the hardship that he's dealt with his siblings. That's just stuff that doesn't happen to players that they then come back from. But I get it. Good stories don't win you NBA championships, and the production that MPJ has given you this entire year has been subpar. So I get it. It just sucks to see a good person have to go. I know I'm talking like it's a foregone conclusion that it's already happened. I think we all have that feeling. Okay, let's talk about what should we look to now. What now that the Denver Nuggets are gone? First and foremost, the Denver Nuggets need a general manager. I don't think a head coaching decision should be made until you have secured your general manager. Because what we learned the last time is that when you bring in a general manager that didn't pick that head coach, you get nothing but a headache and turmoil in your locker room. So we need to bring in a GM that can then comfortably pick a coach so that we can avoid any more bickering and or back and forth banter that just creates nothing but distractions for your players. Look, I don't know who's available right now. I know that everyone's floating the name Bob Meyer around quite a bit, the former GM of the Golden State Warriors that built that dynasty along with I forget the name of the other GM that was with him. It was a two-man system. As that sounds great. The only thing that I'm looking for in a GM, my only criteria, is that I need them to be aggressive in ensuring the success long term for Nikola Jokic. I need someone that is willing to come in and look at what they have, say this isn't enough, and then quickly get on the phones and say, what do you want, or what can we get for this player in a package? How can we land this big player? How can we land this other player? How can I get Bruce Brown back on this roster? I know that's such a dumb oversimplification. We need a Bruce Brown type, and there's no better Bruce Brown type than Bruce Brown. I want a GM that's going to come in here and immediately look to make positive changes, and then grab a coach that is willing to see the same vision and to help Nikola Jokic and company get back to an NBA championship. I don't think it takes a genius head coach to succeed with Nikola Jokic. I think we can all agree there. Nikola Jokic is brilliant. But you do need a coach that's going to be able to lift up this locker room and consistently make them believe that they have an opportunity to win every single night. And someone that isn't going to not be willing to bend or break from their current ideology. That's something that Malone was just too stubborn. It worked until it didn't, and when it didn't work, he refused to look at it any other way. And that's one of the biggest reasons he no longer has a job here in Denver. I know a lot of us want to make a big splashy move, like landing Giannis Antetokounmpo or asking about Kevin Durant. I don't know if that is the exact route that I want a GM to take, but I do want them to take a route where they're trying to surround Jokic with better shooters, where they're trying to surround Jokic with maybe a handful more 3-and-D guys. Just create a system that Nikola Jokic, when he's getting triple teamed because he has to, can confidently kick it out to someone and just see that basket go through the hoop. I know I'm oversimplifying things. I know I'm playing GM. And hey, where are those players? You don't even know if those players are out there. I get it. But those are things that you need in order for this team to see the success that I truly envision them getting to. All right. It's in the description there. It's in the central box. This is unquestionably the most important offseason ever in the history of this franchise. You need to make all of the right moves in the next couple of months No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need to surround Nikola Jokic with competent players. I love that we tried the go young and keep building from within. The issue is you didn't have a system, or you didn't have people around that were willing to develop those players for moments like today, or maybe even moments moving forward. The harsh reality is you wanted to go young. One side wanted to go young, the other side wanted to keep vets. And now you're really stuck in a bad spot where your team is too young, you're lacking several assets, and now making moves is very difficult. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. So let's surround Nikola with the right players. Let's get rid of some of the players that are just not producing or haven't produced multiple times now. Here are your untouchables: Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown. Anyone else, you are liable and able to be moved. If someone asks about Jamal Murray and the haul is good, Jamal, thank you so much for your service. You weren't helping this team get past the hump. You did that one year and it was fantastic, but you've been a shell of that ever since. There could be multiple factors to it. At the end of the day, I just don't know if that dog really continued to bark the way that it had prior. Now, I'm not talking about his physical toughness, because you saw it in that flu game. Jamal Murray is mentally tough when it comes to playing the sport of basketball. But things surrounding the sport, the antics, the inability to be a more mature player, feels like it truly cost Denver, or has cost Denver, a lot in the long run. We've talked about MPJ a handful of times. The inconsistency is just painful. Aaron Gordon's fantastic. We can keep him. Peyton Watson, he hasn't developed even a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. Sorry for that random jump cut. We're getting a little bit of thunder in my area, and I could not really record without it sounding like we were about to get struck by lightning. What I was saying is Peyton Watson's defense was good, but it feels like he never got strong enough for me to feel confident that he could go into any 1-5 matchup and do good in it. I think 1-3 he was great. Once people started getting stronger than him, his effectiveness really started to disappear. And even in speed battles, it felt like he was always a step behind. SGA always had that first or second step on him, and he was always trying to catch up and just never could in this particular series. If your defense is only good in certain situations and you don't have great offense, what's the point? Julian Strawther's one that I could be convinced you might try to keep, but I also think that's a player that a lot of teams might say, sure, we'll take an MPJ off your hands, only if you include Julian Strawther and, maybe a couple other picks. Things are going to get very interesting. Everyone else on the bench is also just as easy to go away. Those are just some of the names that come to the forefront almost immediately. This is going to be a very hectic offseason. We all knew that from the beginning, even if the Denver Nuggets won a championship this year. So where you go from here truly matters. I'm curious and excited, just like many of us are, to see what this Denver Nuggets team looks like in like 6-7 months from now. And I'm going to do everything to keep you guys updated with that news, react to it, depending on what's coming through the wire. And just continue to make videos for you guys. I have a couple of videos lined up now that are more of the style of video that I want to make. I have a video on Aaron Gordon coming soon, a video on Michael Porter Jr. coming soon, and a video on the rise and fall of the relationship between Michael Malone and Calvin Booth. There's a lot of great things to look forward to on this channel. There's a lot of things to look forward to for the Denver Nuggets. I'm very excited to see where things go. Like I said, I think these Denver Nuggets are almost there. They showed a lot of heart in this series. It just wasn't enough. I think next year is going to be a very different story. I think next year the Denver Nuggets are going to be making a push for another NBA championship as a top 2 seed in the Western Conference. I'm calling my shot early. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Thanks so much for being a part of this journey. I will catch you guys in hopefully a couple of days as I work on the next video. This has been Alex signing out of the Mile High Nugget Mine.